Brought to you by the Every Dollar app. Start budgeting for free today.
So earlier this year, my wife left me. I've got a daughter who's about 18 months. We are separated. We're not legally divorced. She used to handle all of the money in the house. So I'm just kind of figuring things out for myself now. Make a decent wage. I make about $73,000 a year. Mm-hmm. But I find I don't really have pennies to rub together by the end of the month. Like, I'm not really saving anything. So I'm just wondering if you can help me find maybe ways to optimize that.
Good question. Yeah, that would be a normal thing. Left to itself, savings never occurs naturally, unless somebody's just like a savings freak. But most people, if you just don't pay attention, at the end of the month, or really even before the end of the month, the money's gone. Mm-hmm. And so the only way to make the money behave is before the month starts, write every dollar down and where it's going to go, and then make it go where you wrote it down to be going. You're in charge of it, but you need to tell it what to do, because what's happening is, in your emotional state, because your heart is broken and you're the daddy of a little baby and you're dealing with all this, in the middle of all of that, you're not even paying attention to the money. It just leaves, which would be, I mean, that's what most people would do in your situation. But the answer is, you've got to pay attention.
When you're struggling to make payments at the end of the month, is this you having sat down and done the math and realized I don't make enough money to live where I live and do what I do now that I'm a single dad? Or are you still sending money to your ex? I mean, what kind of final situation are you in?
My ex. So, I mean, I'm currently paying about 40% of daycare based on how much she makes, how much I make. It's not like I've put a budget out for myself, and, you know, it says I have $300 left over at the end of the month, but that never seems to happen. I have like a recurring investment. I was like, I might as well start putting something away if I can. So I was just like, I'll do $10 a week. It's going to be something like just won't really notice. And I just have that going into, you know, investing in stocks and dividend reinvestment and all of that. So that's like
okay. So what happened was you wrote down a budget and you never looked at it again till the end of the month.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
And then you went, wow, that didn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to give you I'm going to tell you to do a written game plan, every dollar on paper, on purpose, before the month begins. And then before you spend anything out of a certain category, you'd go back and check that category and make sure you still got money left in it. Mm. And make sure if you're spending time eating out because you're lonely, or you're spending time doing whatever that costs money because you're lonely, make sure you recognize that and then you're writing it down.
Right.
Because, I mean, you're going through a heartbreak right now. This is a hard time emotionally. And that hard time will show up in the money if you don't get on the other side of it and crack the whip on it. So what you're facing is a very normal reaction in a situation like you're in, but that doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it like, because it doesn't feel right, and that's why you called.
Yeah, and Dave, I don't think you can overstate that. When your world blows up, it's easy to feel like the rules don't apply anymore.
Right.
But they do.
Right.
Math does, right? Math keeps going, and the kid still needs to eat. I remember a close friend of ours, her husband left her pregnant with number 3, and
oh God.
And I remember asking a couple of years later, how'd you make it? And that her answer was so instructive. She just said, I had to, right? And that meant I have to get up and do the next thing, the next right thing every day. And so the next right thing for him is to begin to put some sort of structure to this chaos. His world blew up. His wife left him and this little one, and no one has that in their head even, right? It happened. Let's get a hold of our money. Let's get a hold of our calendar. Let's start there. And if you can prove yourself over 30 days that I can stick to this thing and say no, then you can do it again 60 days. You can do it again 90 days. And then you start asking yourself, is this the job? Is this the apartment? Is this the house? Is this the daycare center? And go from there.
But I guess, I don't know, you know a lot more about this than I do, that it feels like grieving a broken heart or grieving a loss of some kind somehow gives us permission to let our body go, to let our mind get on junk food, binge watch stupid stuff on Netflix instead of actually feeding our mind something that tightens it up, and just let our money go.
Yeah, I think the difference is I don't think grief is doing nothing. I think grief is active. And if you're actively grieving something, if you're writing letters, if you are choosing your thoughts, if you're doing the next right thing, then that's an action. I think what most people mistake grief for is I'm just going to draw the shades and do nothing.
Yeah, what I'm saying is when something bad comes at me, it's like you say, gives you permission. And so so I don't need to exercise.
That's right.
I don't need to go to church.
Right.
I don't need to watch my money.
Right.
Because something bad happened to me, so now I have permission to sit on my butt.
One of my friends who works in the fitness industry said we often treat diets like you blow your diet, and he goes, you get a flat tire, and then you're like, whatever. And he said it's like pulling out a knife and going and slashing the other 3 tires. He goes, instead of just having one tire off, right? So your world blows up. This is the time to actually stop and really double down on that stuff.
Double down on everything else.
Yes. This is when you need to get sunlight.
You've got to control the things you can control.
That's it,
and
man.
That marriage blowing up's not one of them.
No, that's happened.
Yeah.
So let's do these other things so that we can deal with the hard truth.
And what that means is like hardcore, like you were completely energetic and hopped up on caffeine, hardcore budgeting. I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to pinch it some more, and I'm going to and at $300, no, how about $1,000?
$1,000, that's right.
At the end of every month, and I'm going to start putting that towards something, and then I'm going to work some extra, and then I'm going to lean into these things, and that's the way I'm going to process while I'm going through this, rather than using this as a reason. I was going to say an excuse, but even a reason for taking our foot off the gas and just letting the car go in circles.
It's your choose your heart, right?
Yeah.
You can choose to double down on your budget. I will force myself to exercise even though I don't feel like getting out of bed, and even though it's 44 below in Canada where he is, or I'm going to choose the heart of just getting to the end of every month and getting further and further underwater.
Yeah, it's human nature is just so interesting when we think it through, because doing this for 35 years, I can tell you that the number of times I talk to someone, they go, well, everything was going good, and I went through a divorce, and then I went $40,000 in debt, and I gained 40 pounds. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, now you got to go clean that up.
Yes.
So, what you said is before you do that, go ahead and not do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Or find an activity, find a Xanax, if you will, find a distraction that's not going to be catastrophic, right? So often I tell folks, you get one. So I hear from husbands who come home, they're like, dude, I just want to veg out. A lot of guys will go sit in the bathroom for an hour and a half, and they'll just scroll their phone, or they'll disappear. And the pushback is, you need to be present in this house. You need to be around. Okay, I need a break. And I always tell them, okay, you get one. You went 30 minutes. She's going to keep the kids away for 30 minutes. You get 30 minutes. After that, you got to put that thing down and be present. And so, yes, when your world blows up, it is hard to get out of bed. It is. Okay, so you get 10 minutes. You get 30 minutes to lay here and be sad. And then you got to get up. You get one. And then you got to go do your thing. Like whatever that thing is, you got to go do the next right move that you know is good for you.
So a buddy of mine came to an event that John and I did with Mike Rowe. Mm-hmm. We're doing it for business guys. And one of the things John did was a talk during that event. And choose your heart. Decide, okay, you're either going to be overweight or you're going to exercise and manage your caloric intake.
Both of those are hard.
You're either going to be broke or you're going to manage your budget and work some extra and sell some stuff and get your butt under control, right? Choose your heart. One of them, they're both hard. You might as well choose which one on purpose rather than let it happens to you. A friend of mine was sitting there. He's lost 150 pounds.
It's so amazing.
I was with him Monday night.
That's like 2 George Camels.
Yeah. Well, more.
2.5. Yeah.
More, yeah.
Yeah. That's so amazing. Choose your heart, right?
Choose your heart. And I said, what do you do? And he goes, stinking Deloney talk, man. Choose my heart. He goes, I've been choosing to be fat, and I decided I wasn't going to be. Like, that's what he told me. Wow. This is The Ramsey Show. Create your free every dollar budget today, the simplest way to budget for your life.